You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. We're in studio. I'm Keith Reza with Alan Lee, the one and only, who doesn't say when I introduce him.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Alan.
I swear to God, I'm here. I was just zoning out. I was just staring at the tape a moment. I got to get myself together.
You're zoning out because we have an amazing guest.
We
in
do
studio.
indeed. We do indeed.
And,
I just met him.
Yeah.
I'm just helping Alan with his buckles here to get everything, back. Get him out of that jacket.
Thank you, Paul.
We have the great Paul Williams here.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Paul, before we start, I just got to tell you this story. So we were about to start. Alan's like, we're like, how should we start the show? Alan's like, we should play one of Paul's songs. I was like, no, I can't get sued. He's like, no, we're interviewing him. He's not going to sue us.
Yeah, well, no. The fact is, when one of my songs is played, not only do I not sue you, but I do a Snoopy Happy Dance, because when my songs are played on the air, then I'm compensated for it.
Right.
So yes. That's what part of what ASCAP does.
There you
I
go.
have
There you go.
A relationship there that I'm very grateful for. But you know what? No, that's I'm not here. I saw your act when you were working with Craig, and I loved it. And when you asked if I'd come and do this, I was happy to do it, because it was enjoyable to sit in the audience. I thought, if we sit down across from him with a couple microphones and somebody that needs to be taken out of their straitjacket, it's going to be a terrific time. So well, I'm yours. It's your 45 minutes, and I'm right. I'm planning to enjoy myself.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I remember meeting you, and I'm going to be honest. I know you from Goliath, which is one of my favorite shows.
Thank you,
and,
Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah. And I remember I was sewing my shirts, and I saw you outside. I was like, "You're from Goliath."
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm sure
it's almost like the universe is playing a joke on us. Isn't it? It's like that I'm on a show called Goliath at 5'2".
Yeah.
Never too late for a short joke, or too early. Defensive humor.
Yeah, but then I followed you on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, the guy from Goliath was at my show today," and she's like, "No way!" And then I was like, "Yeah," and then we were watching an episode. I was like, "That's him." She's like, "That's Paul Williams." I was like, "Yeah," she knows you from Yeah. I was like, "Whoa, that was just shocking."
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to enlighten you and everything, and to be here and all. And the fact that Goliath was enough for you to want me here is really great and everything. So just because we're now not allowed to talk about anything else. No, it's my, I'm nothing but grateful. I've had an amazing life and an amazing, actually like a couple lives and a couple of careers, because I pissed away the first one. I got drunk and filled my nose full of cocaine for a decade.
Yeah.
When you misplace a decade, you are definitely an alcoholic. So, 29 years ago, my life, instead of coming to, I woke up, and it's been an amazing life. So,
yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about, and anytime you put a microphone in front of me, I have a tendency to get on my little soapbox.
Yeah.
About how blessed a recovered life is, and these days also to take advantage of the chance to talk about music creators' rights, and that's really important to me as well. So those are the two biggies for me, the things that I'm most grateful for, and so I should be. If I stick to those things, I'll be really boring, and that's how I turn my life around. I'm the Polly Lama, come touch the hem,
Now, we were talking in the elevator that you did Carson 48 times. Was that the record of Carson?
No. I think somebody did it 200 times. I'm trying to remember.
200 times.
200, and if you don't remember the name of the guy who did it 200 times, you're either really old, or just so egomaniacal you don't pay attention. But no, it was. I think that there are a couple comedians who were on there all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which ones. But I will, as soon as we're off the air, I'll remember it. That's the way it is.
And then we'll just have to invite you back and be like, we got to answer those questions.
Yeah, it was at the time there were 3 channels, and you had basically ABC, NBC, and CBS were the 3 networks. Those are the 3 possibilities for late night entertainment. You had Letterman, you had Carson, and afternoons you had Mike Douglas. There were a few things where you could get to a huge audience, nothing bigger at the time than Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And I think that what was, first of all, I always felt like home there. I had two great friends that were there on the show. One was Pat McCormick, and the other one was Ed McMahon, and both known to be to enjoy a variety of substances to keep them smiling and so yeah, we do the show, but off the show, Pat McCormick and I did a bunch of things together, including the art film Smokey and the Bandit. He played Big Enos and I played Little Enos, and but we did a batch of things for the Fall Guy with Lee Majors and all. We had a great time together, and I was great friends with Ed McMahon. I loved Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon was just a big teddy bear, a big slobbery, wonderful teddy bear, and by having that relationship with Ed McMahon, there were many times when after the show he'd go to dinner with somebody that I would go, wow, you're going out, you're going to have dinner with Orson Welles. Oh, well, how can I say? Okay, Paul, you want to come along? And I would tag along.
Wow. Be like, oh yeah, sure, definitely.
Nice.
The great thing about what we do is you don't have to give up your fan card. I don't have to stop being a fan, and I can't. I don't have to, so I don't want to. I mean, if I'm sitting in a room and Quincy Jones walks in the room, and I've known him since the 60s, I still go, wow, it's Quincy Jones. There's Q. Wow.
That actually brings me like a lot of comfort that you said that, because I've been doing stand-up comedy for a long time, and I've worked with some of my heroes, but yet I'm still like overly obsessed with their work. You know what I mean? Like I'm still a fan.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Why should you give up something you really love to do what you really love, which is what they also do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when I was working with Craig, it's hard for me to like not ask him comedy questions, because so it's nice to know that I could still be a fan.
And Craig, Craig will tell you everything, unless he thinks, oh, wait a minute, this is not going to work at all, because his career is going to go sailing by me if I tell him that one thing. He must never know that. No, Craig's a really good guy, and I babble on after I make my point sometimes, but the point is really that's one of the best things about what we get to do for those people who are living, is you can wind up with the game shows back in the 70s. Were always a thrill. You do something like Hollywood Squares,
right?
And you show up and you have no idea who's going to be in the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares, whatever you had to count them. And but it was amazing. You'd walk in there and there's Vincent Price, for God's sakes. You go, Jesus, there's Vincent Price, And you do 5 shows. You do 3 shows. You break for lunch. Everybody has a couple drinks. So the Thursday and Friday shows were always very loose, and it was a great place to forge some lasting friendships too. Bill Bixby and I were great friends and ran into each other. I think the first time walking the halls of NBC while he was doing one of the game shows and I was doing another one, but winding up in squares together or something was the beginning of a really a long life lasting, as far as he lived, friendship.
I have a question. How much money did you win on the game shows?
I never, not a penny, not a penny. I won money for other people, I think, on some of the charitable ones, but yeah, exactly. It's the reason that I don't, all the time that I played Vegas, I never really gambled. I thought, wait a minute, $300 in a slot machine, that's perfectly good drug money. I was, it's just, that's who I was at the time. So.
Are you still playing, going around, or
very seldom? Once in a while, but I've got an adult responsible job with ASCAP. For the last 11 years, the ASCAP is the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. We're a performing rights organization. We license the music from everybody from back to the days of Gershwin and Cole Porter to Beyonce, and Billie Eilish, and just the hottest, and ASCAP's 104 years, 105 now.
Wow.
Years old. It's 700,000 members, and basically what we do is anywhere you see music played from restaurants and bars and grills and the like, to anything on the internet, radio, television. It's all we license all that music and collect it and send it immediately to our members. We're a membership organization. We're like this country. We of, by, and for the songwriters and the publishers. So the reason I wrote the title song, for example. Charlie Fox and I wrote the title song to The Love Boat.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Charlie, a song about a cruise ship? Why, this will probably not last a month. And he said, well, let's see.
Yeah.
And or a couple, and it was around 11 years, So my kids, schooling was paid for, and the gas in the car and the food on the table, all that was part of the royalties from that show, and that's what we do, and that's why I'm really grateful and passionate for this gig for the last 11 years as president, because we can make a difference in music creators' lives. There was a big bill that was passed called the Music Modernization Act, and it's going to help. It's going to make a difference in how musicians, or rather how songwriters and all are compensated in the streaming world, So nobody listens to music like they used to. It's all streaming these days.
That's true.
Witness where we are right now.
It's kind of like comedy. Everyone, like a lot of people, don't go out to comedy. They just listen on the stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's nice that musicians have more of a protection, because I don't think comedians have a protection guild like that.
I don't think there's a licensing for jokes.
Yeah. I don't know if how much comedy would disappear if if there was liability in stealing a joke. I'll just change the setting from a graveyard to a supermarket, and hey woman, is that dog happy to see you, or is that but the fact is, with the internet came a lot of problems like that, and as brilliant and wonderful as it is as a tool to learn and celebrate and promote, the fact is that everything from newspapers to you name it is feeling the crunch of moving to a platform that just doesn't really get as close to true value as it needs to. So it's a changing world. It's a changing world, but people seem to, people love music, and in a time in Washington D.C. when you can't, get anybody, the two sides of the aisle to agree on which direction the sun comes up, east or west, they actually unanimously supported the Music Modernization Act, and for which we are beyond grateful that was unanimous in the House and Senate, and that's fantastic.
Now you're the president of this. Is it something that you run for, or did you just get elected, or how did you get that job?
There was the heavens parted first. The heavens parted, and a large figure burned down and said, "Don't let him anywhere near the boardroom until he gets sober." And that's that was the first thing. That first that voice was actually a brilliant lyricist named Hal David, who was a great friend and a mentor. And I ran for the board in the '80s and a couple times, and I was not elected. And so when Hal David said, "You need to run again," I said, I ran twice in the '80s. I wasn't elected. He said, and it's a safer world because of it. But now it's your time. You should. So 2001, I was voted onto the board, and then the membership votes on who's going to sit on the board, and then the board elects the officers. In 2009, I was elected president and chairman.
Oh, that's awesome!
Nice.
I'm sure everyone in music is glad that you got elected. I mean, who were you running against?
Yeah. Well, you're running against the other members of the board and all, and the fact is that...
I was making a bad joke.
Yeah, exactly. Who was I running against? Well, there are no cartoon characters. Everybody sitting on the board is esteemed and established, and, they're guys that run cute little companies like Warner Music and Universal Music, and songwriters like Jimmy Webb, Marcus Miller, just, great, amazing. Again, we go back to that that thing about your fan card.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's it's just so, like, your career, you have just got to be, because I know you from your acting, but like from your music, like you could pull both. Like that's just got to be like very amazing and like very hard too. You know what I mean?
Well, the music is, became as a gift, and it was the gift of no. Because I started out, all I wanted to do was act. All I wanted to do was be somebody other than me. I think, a good therapist would say. A bad therapist would say it as well, but probably charge more. So. But yeah, I started out, I did a couple movies. I did a movie called The Loved One, which was about the funeral business. Very odd, weird picture. I played a 14-year-old or 13-year-old in it, and I was like 22, So I looked like a kid until, and it's an old joke, but I looked like a kid until you put me next to a real kid. Then I looked like a kid with a hangover, and it was just, which was usually, of course, the case. And then, but I did a movie called, after that, 2 years later, did a movie called The Chase with Marlon Brando and Robert Redford, Jane Fonda. Huge.
Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
I remember that film.
Yeah, it was a big movie, and there were these 4 teenagers in it. I was one of them, and by the time the picture came out, I think I've got 2 lines in it. He's going to need a better lawyer, and your daddy was one of them. I remember. It's like my voice was like, he's going to need a better lawyer, and your daddy, and it was. You just don't build a solid career with that kind of a sound coming out of you, and so the acting career, just, I thought the phone was going to ring off the hook. The phone did not ring, and then they took the phone out, and then I was living with my mom, and she had a job, and I was staying up all night trying to write songs. Because on the set of The Chase, I picked up a little guitar that belonged to my roommate, my dressing room roommate, a kid named Mark Seaton. He had a great guitar, and I picked it up. He said, "Don't touch that. It's a Martin." I went, "Okay." I didn't know you gave them names. He said, "No, that's that's not the guitar. That's the brand. Never mind." So, but I was sitting out in front of the little trailer we were in. I went and I bought a little cheap guitar, and I was sitting out there, and we were shooting a scene where Robert Redford, who was a character named Bubba, was hiding in a junkyard that we had just set fire to as kids. And just for my own amusement, I'm sitting there learning the chords. I didn't even know they had names. C, F, G. It was just, wow, look what I invented. It sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, that's a D, Paul. Oh, okay. All righty. What do I do to get an A with something like that? There's another, I got you now. So, but I was sitting on the thing, and on the step of the trailer, and I just went, "Bubba, Bubba, Bubba, come out wherever you are. Oh, we're going to come in and get you. Yes, we're going to come in." And Robert Duvall was walking by, and he went, "Wow, what's that?" And I went, "It's a guitar. I just bought it and everything. It's not a Martin, but it's whatever." He said, No, what you were playing." And I said, "I just made it up." And he said, "Come with me." And I thought, oh, God, I'm in trouble. You're not allowed to sing on a movie set. What did I do wrong? And that's not a joke. I was actually thinking I had done something that was, I didn't know the rules to a movie set, and maybe I'd ruined a shot or something. But he walked me over to Arthur Penn, the director. He said, "Show him." I said, "It's a guitar I just bought." He said, "Not the guitar. Show him the song." And I said, "It's not a song. I just made this up." Blah, 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 blah. And Arthur Penn said, "Stand over by the fence." And then he called out to the tech guy. He said, "Light him up behind him." So they lit up all the fire behind me. And they shot it there, and then they put us up on the hot rod that we had all been riding around in the film, and did it again, and he put it in the movie. So it's like sometimes the universe will speak to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are billboards, you kind of need to pay attention to, I guess. But that was a huge billboard. That look at this. That was the first little thing you ever wrote on a guitar, and it wound up in what was supposed to be a blockbuster movie. And if it's that huge an accident, you kind of go, whoa, maybe I should try songwriting.
Yeah.
And just to make sure that I did, they took away all the acting jobs for years and years to come.
But no, you're totally right. The universe does act in strange ways, because that's how I met you. And then that's how, so yeah, I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Alan's looking at his questions.
No. This was shaking and buzzing, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be in trouble like Paul. play something, and they'll say, "Get the fuck! What's that buzz in the Martin?"
Alan has a form of Asperger's too, but he also has ADHD.
Then we can talk. I've never been safer. Exactly. I've never been.
They've hyphenated it every week. They add something to my my mental problems.
Yeah.
It's not a mental problem.
It's going to be hyphenated.
But it's interesting because the sometimes while definitions and names for things are helpful for us to understand kind of the collective thought of this is what Asperger's is, or this is what what autism is, or this is what there is this variety of human elements that is brought to every one of our lives.
Yeah.
And while the condition is there, you are a short drunk, and I will always be a short, at this point, recovering drunk. But the fact is, once you get to know me, there's a lot of information about how that happened, how I drank myself into that, what I've done with my life since and all. And if nothing else beyond just the enjoyment of having this conversation, it's a chance to step up to the plate and say, I love that you use that quote unquote definition on stage as part of your humor.
Yeah.
And I used my height my entire career, and I look at somebody really evolved and brilliant and just a great actor like Danny DeVito, I never once heard Danny DeVito make a short joke.
No.
He never had to. He just and for some reason, I did. I mean, I used it as a tool. I go on stage, and if I could make the audience laugh, talking about when I was 13, I hit my head running under a table and whatever, the audience would laugh, and I would relax, and they would relax, and so it became a useful tool. But I also see it as really defensive, not offensive. Actually, at a certain point, it becomes offensive. You're having an intelligent conversation with somebody, and you throw in a short joke, and they roll their eyes and go, "Come on, let's talk. You don't need to do that shit."
When you were doing those jokes, and you made audiences laugh, did you ever feel maybe I should did you ever want to try to do stand up? Was that one of those things you wanted to try?
Yeah, I was watching you. I was telling Keith, I said,
because you're very funny.
God, I would rush home to see him on Carson because it was like seeing a stand-up comic. I said, my God, songwriter, actor, and now he's going to do this. Well, I found you that funny, and I'm not the only one.
That's a great compliment.
Thank you.
I don't know that I have the courage. I lived in the Hollywood Hills right up above the Comedy Store. And I was in and out of there once in a while. It's a tough way to make a living. It's a tough way. One of my dearest friends was Freddie Prinze.
Oh.
And Freddie was just, and little Freddie, his son Freddie Prinze is like family, who I never see, and that's just outrageous. But we tweet back and forth, and we text. But Freddie was like, Freddie was cast in Chico and the Man, excuse me, and there was this lovable, cuddly character that he was playing that would fill his audience. We traveled and worked together a bunch, and the little old ladies and their kids would come in expecting to see Chico.
Yeah,
and Freddie was not Chico.
Yeah.
Freddie was closer to Lenny Bruce,
Oh.
and he kicked the edges out and all. And that combined with the fact that you do a joke on television once, he said, I got to come up with something else the next time. That's just, I can't imagine feeding that machine week after week after week. And you look at guys like Carlin, and you go, how do they do it? How do you do it? It's but being funny, I think, is born out of heartache or terror,
right.
or it's or feeling different.
Yeah,
and it's when we embrace the difference and present our authentic self, either as humor or as music, whatever, to an audience, is when I think you hit hold on. I'll give you a classic example, whether you want it or not.
Oh, I definitely want it.
I had a little brother. He was 6'2" as an adult. His name was Mentor Williams. My little brother was one of those kids that, like, when I was a kid, they would have me sing for the neighbors, and I was like 9 or 10 or 11, whatever. And he was like 4 or 5. He'd stand behind the curtain or the kitchen door and watch me singing. And then you'd hear, after I got a little applause from the neighbors, you'd hear, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. And it would be my son, my brother Mentor. Okay, and he'd stick his head out and he'd go, I can sing too. And then he'd walk off like he was going to go kick somebody's ass, you know. Well, cut to him in his early 20s, and he wanted to write songs. And I was having a really pretty good career at that point in the early 70s. And he came out to Hollywood. And I got him a 6-month contract at A&M Records, where I was as a staff writer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And for 6 months, he tried to write hits.
Yeah.
I mean, he was listening to what was happening, what was current. He was writing kind of a rockabilly style that wasn't really happening. And he just, like, nothing happened. Nobody listened to the demo through the bridge.
Right.
So the gig was over. So it was a Saturday. He had to clean his office out on the next Monday. So he goes into A&M Records, is the old Charlie Chaplin Studios. It's an old movie lot. So he's got a little office on upstairs, a couple doors down from where mine was. And he goes there on a Saturday, and it's pouring rain. And there's nobody there but him and the guard, and then whoever's in the recording studio, because there was a recording studio there. And he's so depressed. He's just like, fuck, what do I have to do? You know, and he's looking around that he has to clean out his office. The dream is behind him, evidently. He's totally confused, and he picks up a pencil and a yellow pad, and he writes, "Day after day, I'm more confused." It's raining outside, so he writes, "Yet I look for the light through the pouring rain." You know, that's a game I hate to lose. He's going to lose this gig.
Sure.
I'm counting on you to carry me through. And it came out of him all at once. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
Wow.
He wrote something that is going to be, people will be snapping their fingers to and dancing to and learning from, I think, forever.
Yeah.
As long as there's music played.
And it came right out of him?
Came right out of him. And it came out of the center of his chest. And I think that when we do things where the headwaters of what we do, especially when it's filtered through kindness and honesty, we are capable of doing things that will change not only our lives, but other people's.
100% agree. Like, 100%. And the question I had for you was, is that how, because obviously that's how your brother, got his juices flowing. How do your juices get flowing?
If I listen to I have a tough time listening to music that I love. I mean, my favorite band ever was a group called Delaney and Bonnie and Friends.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of them, or there's a good chance you haven't.
Yeah,
but,
for the sake of this
now,
interview.
At this point, what you need to do at some point, check out their first album was called Accept No Substitutes. And I mean, this band was so different from what I was basically known for writing. I wrote a lot of what I call codependent anthems. I write, ouch mommy songs, pick me up and love me, I'm nothing without you, come back, But this was just like great gospel rock. And I sit and listen to them, and all I wanted to do was run out of the troubadour.
Right.
Because I'm just so inspired by what I hear. I mean, listening to the Beatles was like, I got more energy for writing out of the first cut on Rubber Soul than I did on, 21 years of life experience. Just that, oh my God, how do you do something that good? And if you've just finished an album and you hear something that the Beatles did or Wings with Paul McCartney or whatever, you just go, shit, start over. But the original Delaney and Bonnie and Friends also had Leon Russell on keyboard. It had Carl Riddle on bass. Name some of these names you won't know, but Leon Russell is one of my favorites ever for voice, musician, songwriter.
Yeah. That's it?
That's it.
Oh, just her?
You know, yeah, so what inspires me, people do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I was sitting up all night with my mom was going to work, I brought her out to take care of her, and she wound up taking care of me. She'd get up in the morning, and I'd be playing in my pajamas, playing my little guitar, trying to write songs. And she would lean over and she'd go, "Don't worry, my son. God has a plan." And then she'd walk away and she'd hear her muttering things like, "Son of a bitch." What's going to happen? He's so little, like that. And so I'd say to her, I'd say, "Mom, what's going on?" She went, "Pfft," which for her was a word. "Pfft, you wouldn't understand. I'm just feeling old."
Yeah.
So I sit down when I'm writing with a guy named Roger Nichols, and we're writing songs and doing pretty good. We had a big hit with the Carpenters. We've only just begun. The next thing we wrote for them, or soon after anyway, he plays me this gorgeous melody, and I go, "What am I going to write about?" Ba-da-dee-da-dee, ba-da-da-da, da-dee-da. So that's how we'd write. He'd finish the melody. I'd add the words. So I did it, and I remembered my mom talking to myself and feeling old. So the life experience is what generally comes out. As much as I try to be clever, as much as I try to be, this is one that will really impress them. Oh, Paulie, you are moving into new heights here. That's one that I write. If it impresses me with how clever it is, it'll probably sit in a drawer until even I forget about it.
Yeah.
But if I write about what I'm feeling, like, wow, I'm scared and lonely, So I sit down with a guy named Kenny Asher, and we write, "Loneliness takes the romance out of falling stars, fills the wishing wells and fills the bars, run and hide the scars of loneliness." You go, wow, it's not bad. No, and more importantly, it's honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge tip for a songwriter.
Is that like, how you like do the lyrics in your mind when you listen to the melody? The lyrics just come to you, or do you like just keep writing different stuff? Because when I write jokes, I've always used to write poetry because I thought they could be good songs, but I realized they'd suck. If I like sang it because I'm tone deaf. So then like I changed it into jokes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's how my mind worked.
I think one of the things that is true about my songwriting is that there is no one way I do it, and it changes with the person I'm writing with. Yeah. The way Roger wrote is he'd write a finished melody and give it to me, and we wrote together for years. There's a guy named Kenny Asher that I wrote a lot of songs for. Kenny and I wrote the songs for the Muppet movie, Rainbow Connection and Moving Right Along and all those songs. And the way that we write is the first song we ever wrote was a song called "You and Me Against the World." And we'd gone to England. He was my piano player. We'd never talked about writing even. But we had all of us. There was something wrong with the permits for my guys to play, and so nobody could play over there. I had to use English musicians, and I'm just hanging with Kenny Asher. We're talking about the old songs, and we started talking about how much we both loved Harry Nilsson.
Yeah.
And I told Kenny, I said, when I met Harry, he played me all the songs of his favorite writer ever, which was Randy Newman. He loved Randy Newman. So just out of the blue, Kenny and I write, "Do you love me, babe? Do you love me not? Let's decide in the morning, not now. Whoa, you don't like Schumann or Randy Newman. Nilsson ain't your cup of tea. You think Van Heusen is a shirt worth choosing, but you're still undecided about me. Whoa, whoa, do you love me?" And just a funny little song. And Kenny Asher looked at me afterwards. He said, "If you started an album with that, it'd be cool to do something like," and he played, "Bum, bum, 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 dee-da, dee-da, bum, 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 bum," and looked at me like I was supposed to know what I was supposed to sing then. So I did. I sang "You and Me Against the World. Sometimes it feels like you and me against the world." He played another chord, and that's how we wrote. Wow. I mean, we went back and forth with both of us working on music and lyrics, and up through all the Muppet stuff. Most of the songs in "The Star Is Born" I wrote with Kenny.
Yeah.
"Woman in the Moon," "Watch Closely Now," with One More Look at You, songs you probably probably don't know.
Yeah, but we should explain to the folks that you wrote for the original Star Is Born. Not,
Exactly. But I love. See, the nice part is that I'm also a huge fan of the second one.
Oh, are you?
And the fact when we wrote ours, we were writing a new version of a movie that I had loved with Judy Garland and James Mason. And James Mason had a great little thing in his version where he would say to Judy Garland as she was walking off, he'd go, "Hold on a second," and she'd turn around and say, "Oh, yes," and he'd go, I just want to take another look at you." So Kenny and I wrote, "With one more look at you, I could learn to tame the clouds," but blah, blah, blah. So, it just, the thing is, I think life is a lot easier when you don't claim stuff and try to put it in a closet and say, "This is mine. Hey, it's my idea to do Stars Born. What are you people doing? Get over here. Stand up against the wall. Keep your hands in plain sight. You, what's your name? You're Bradley, what? You're not even wait a minute. And how is it you're sitting out there in the parking lot, and yet because of two lines she sings to you later on, the entire song. It's just, obviously your drugs were better than mine. I could go there or I could just let it go. You just have to. Acceptance is huge in recovery, and it's huge in life. Yeah.
Wow.
One of the best things about podcasts is, that's recorded. You could re-listen to, and I think you should do this. You should re-listen to this episode, and you should try stand-up comedy because you've told 7 great jokes. So I think that would be awesome.
That's really kind. And then they'd expect me to come in and do that again. But life is funny.
Yeah,
life is funny, and okay. No, I'm not going to go there. I was thinking about something that was bathroom humor with Pat and I, and a joke that he told, and then I created something, and I went, and I have now made the wise decision for once in my life, self-edit at the last minute when you need it.
I gotta learn that because with my no filter, I say stuff, and sometimes I don't think what I say. You know what I mean? So I'm that's why I try not to stay too much on Twitter, because I think if you're going back and forth with all these trolls, people,
Twitter's frightening.
It's interesting. I haven't had a lot of problems there. I've stated a couple of things about some of my opinions around. I found a T-shirt that said "Rainy days and automatic weapons always get me down," and I was like, I had to have that, So, so I posted it on instead of rainy days and Mondays, rainy days and automatic weapons, and I posted it, and somebody wrote and said, "Dummy, you got to learn about they automatic weapons were made illegal many years ago. You got to know what you're talking about before you live, fool," but whatever. And I started to write back, "Yeah, but you can buy an auto sear on an internet and turn a semi-automatic." And I went, "Well, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Auto sear.
Oh
my God, that's funny.
And you have to have been a crazy person with a lot of guns at some
Understand.
point in your life to know what an auto sear is. So
Speaking of guns, Alan likes hunting and stuff.
I do have a gun fetish. And the funny thing about it is there were no guns. I came from an immigrant family, and my mother's Cuban from Havana, and my dad's from Hong Kong, and there were no guns. And as a kid, I had to have all the cap guns. I watched every Western on earth.
Yeah.
And I mean, you put a Western on, I said, fuck football, baseball, Little League, fuck all that. There's a Western on, right?
Exactly.
And so not until I came to California, I bought my first pistol right around the corner in North Hollywood at the Surplus, Western Surplus, in that store.
Sure.
And I said, "That looks so good."
I got to leave now. It was really.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Oh my God, I'm scared. That was 300 people.
But go ahead. I get it though.
Yeah. And so I had it was a toy. So it was a toy for me. I wasn't defending myself or a family to defend. I thought, God, I can't believe from cap gun to this. My father was just. Because it was my Western fetish. I go to the Gene Autry Western Heritage Museum all the time to stand there and look look around.
Yeah, I loved I loved the singing cowboys. When I was a kid, Rex Allen,
Allen,
and the like.
Roy,
but
throw Roy in there.
Yeah, but I mean, great Western films too, like Big Country and and
John Ford stuff.
All the John Ford stuff.
Have you ever done a Western?
Well, let me think. No, there's a lot of Mayberville in my life. I have to give it a moment here to rerun. Not really. Yeah, wait. I have to. I did a TV movie called Wild Wild West Revisited.
God, that's not a Western. I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's Wild Wild West
Revisited. Oh, that's a classic.
And I played Miguelito Loveless. Right. Miguelito Loveless Jr.
That's right. Oh my God, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
For heaven's sakes, I should have brought that up.
Michael Dunn was the actor that played Miguelito.
That's right.
And
Michael Dunn.
People said, so you're going to play Michael Dunn's son. How do you feel about that? I said, I'm scared to death, and they said, why? I said, because the level of acting that he was capable of was just phenomenal. I mean, he was brilliant. But yeah, and I not to get into the whole gun thing and everything, but I think that something has to be done about background acting, and blah blah, this and blah blah that and all. But everything is so divisive and so crazy, and I think that first of all, of course, there are mental health issues, absolutely,
sure, absolutely.
But the rest of the world has mental health issues, and a lot of the things that we're dealing with over here, and they just don't have the amount of mass murder that we've experienced. So I think we have to. It's a classic example of something where, there were two senators that couldn't agree on anything. They were at the opposite sides of the coin on almost all issues. A deep Republican named Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy. The libs live. Yeah. And they did meaningful work together. They did the Americans with Disabilities Act. They did stuff around AIDS and children, and I think it's an amazing opportunity at this point where the people who have proven that they can talk to each other about certainly music can perhaps now do something, and that fear-based thinking that if we give this much, which is going to make it a little harder for the wrong guy to get his hands on a gun. There's so many people, their fear-based thinking is that that's gonna go, and then following that is something else and something else and something else. And I live one day at a time. Yeah. And I certainly don't want to offend anybody with where I come down on this issue, but something has to be done. Something's got to be done.
So. And I'm a gun person, but
yeah, but I would take every bullet that I own. And take it. I would be happy to register the bullet.
Oh my!
Is it Chris Rock that has the great thing about was it Chris that said you got to charge like $1,000 for a bullet? That's right. That's right. Charge all that money for the bullets.
That might work though.
Well, a lot of wealthy people would have guns.
Yeah. But it's and it's a hot button issue, and we're in a time at this. I just hope that people will. Instead of backing into their own corner of thought and digging a deeper trench to peer over the edge of, they'll talk and try to get something done.
Yeah, when you were telling that story about the senators, like my mind was because I was thinking of a joke. Yeah, so it's gonna be bad, but you want to hear a bad joke
about
the senators? You kind of wrote it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna try and finish it. So there's these two senators, they're right on the left. They couldn't agree on anything. Bob Dole and who's another senator?
Ed Kennedy.
Ed Kennedy. They hated each other. Ted Kennedy. They hated each other. They couldn't agree.
Ralph Kennedy also works really good.
Ralph Kennedy. But they did agree on one thing: Viagra's the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where my mind goes. Is someone would say something really interesting. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'd be like, I can make that funny. You know what I mean?
And you did.
Yeah,
and it was cute.
Exactly.
But I don't think Bob Dole and Kennedy were in the same time period. But
I think there was a little overlap.
A crossover. There was an overlap.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
around.
Yeah.
They knew each other.
Then I just wrote the funny joke.
It's really funny. But you know what? You pick out two, extreme senators from today's current thing that are a little older and fire away.
I wanted to ask Paul about, along the recovery line and psychology, I have a friend, he's always talking about trauma and the reactions of your early childhood that you don't know are there. That CPTSD, and then you take something to heal that, which unfortunately could be a drug or a drink. And what's your opinion?
A chemical Band-Aid is
a chemical Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And he had that book, Shame. But anyway, what do you think of the idea of trauma that exists in someone?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's interesting because there was a woman named, I believe it was Alice Miller, wrote a book that was big hit called The Drama of the Gifted Child. She wrote another book, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was interesting. She did a study of very famous, very successful, evil and wonderful people. We're talking Picasso and Hitler and that world. And she wondered what the examples she chose were all people that had traumatic events in their childhood, and why through all these traumatic events that they all experienced, why did some of them emerge as Hitler, the essence of evil, and why did somebody emerge, as somebody who moved through that trauma and became creative and did meaningful work and the like a Picasso. Picasso, I think, in his childhood, watched his mother give birth during a horrible earthquake. I'm not sure if she died or not, but it was. I think she may have died during that earthquake. But what she found that was the difference between the two sides is the phrase "sympathetic witness." If there's some child who's being beaten in a home, the kind of abuse you imagine, that if there's somebody there that says, you know what, the things that have happened to you, which you are now safe from, should never have happened to you, and you don't deserve any of that. That's not the way the world is ever supposed to operate, and that's not the way your life is going to operate. And you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. So when this terrible thing happened to you, it's an oddity. It's not going to be like that. And come here and let me put my arms around you. Let me hold you. That sympathetic witness gave a shading of a perspective to the unconscious. Something to carry in the depths of whatever of our souls. That makes a difference in later years. I'm sure at the time, who knows what the child's reaction to it is, but to have somebody there offering pure love makes a difference. I think that what happens with all of us that are, that got sober, one of the things that happens is after you've been sober a little while, you start to look at your life and go, wow. Like my childhood looked like Dickens wrote it. I mean, my dad died when I was 13. In a car wreck. I was this tiny little guy with a slow body clock, shipped off to live with an aunt and uncle in Long Beach, California. They were like basically knife fighting drunks, and it was. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, and I didn't feel any of it at the time. I just stayed busy.
Yeah, sure.
That was my Band-Aid at the time.
Sure.
And then at a certain point in my life, vodka became a Band-Aid, and then and I was having this amazing life. Why did I just keep diving into the booze and all? And you know what? I dive into the booze because I'm an alcoholic. I could have had the perfect childhood, and the fact is, there's something in the way I process alcohol and something in the way I think. I mean, long before I drank like an alcoholic, I acted like one because I didn't feel so much of that. So you're spot on, is what I'm saying. The shorter answer would have been, you're right, but it's an important observation.
Wow, thank you.
Because it also opens up the door to us forgiving people,
True.
Yeah.
Now, I have one more question, and because we're running out of time, but this goes back to very beginning. Goliath.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I've never had more. I've never had. I walked into the office. I'm friends with Billy Bob. We became friends.
Billy Bob's like one of my favorites.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
great.
He's fantastic, and and the Boxmasters are fabulous.
Yeah.
He's a really good songwriter, and so he just he said, the producers of the show, there's something going on. They want to talk to you. Go meet with the guys, and so this was after the first season of Goliath, and he had won the Emmy for Best Actor. So I went in to the producer's office. Larry has got a huge Phantom of the Paradise poster on the wall of his office, and I went, "This is already my favorite meeting ever." I said, "What do you want me to do? Read or whatever?" He said, "No, I want you to say yes." And they wanted me to play this character, JT, who's, he's a disillusioned attorney that doesn't trust the system. He has all these devices to listen to the cops. He does only pro bono work for gang members in L.A. He speaks a little Spanish. Y si tú quisieras hablar español, con este chingadero, yo soy listo. Anyway, it was a wonderful character, and I did the second season. I did like 4, and then we just finished shooting. Well, we just finished like a month or so ago. Finished season 3.
Are you in all of them on season 3?
No. I think that they're trying to back away slowly as they're not realizing what they've gotten themselves into. I think about the same number. I think 4 of them. I think there's 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
And but it's just a great relationship. And what Billy does is first of all, he's so absolutely in the moment.
Yeah.
And everything is, the first day on the set, his character was supposed to walk in with a case of beer. And he says, "How do you feel about that?" I said, "I think there's more tension if you are the drunk that Billy is on Goliath, and I'm sober." And he said, "I agree. Lose it." And so they get rid of the booze. The first thing we were shooting, where I was in that little island in the L.A. River and fishing for metal, he yells out at me. I said, "Hold on a second." I couldn't hear him, and I put my hearing aids in. And the next scene we shot on a dam, he walks up and on camera says, "Put your hearing aids in." I said, "Okay." So I put my hearing aids in. I mean, he makes the things that are part of my life part of JT's character, and I think that's true about so much of his character, except for the drinking. He's one of the most generous actors I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And I've never ever had an adult acting job that I've enjoyed more. I mean, I did a lot of cartoon acting, Smokey and the Bandit 1, 2. And even worse, but this is just a privilege to walk on that set.
Yeah, I have a Billy Bob joke, and I don't know if I told it at the Improv, but I think you'll really enjoy it because you're friends with them. But I was with this girl, and we'll end it on this. She was like, "Let's role play, let's be celebrities," and I was like, "I don't really want to be celebrities, She's like, "You be Brad Pitt, and I'll be Angelina Jolie," and I was like, "Oh. I'd rather be Billy Bob." Because he has more range, So then I go deeper, and then she's like, "Say something from one of your movies," and I'm like, "Oh, let the rabbit go," And she's like, "No, you're Brad Pitt." I was like, "Oh, right." But that's what I'm saying is like Billy Bob's acting is just so like he can go in different ranges, and it's kind of like your songwriting ability too. So
thank you.
That's talent. With talent, it makes beautiful art. That's what I'm saying.
It's spectacular, and to be able to do it, to still be writing and writing with some wonderful people at this point in my life, it's just it's all it's all a gift. It's I keep going back to that. The other thing is that a lot of the people I'm working with, I know because of something that I did not write off, although there was every reason to write it off as a failure back in 1974, and that's Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah. Guillermo del Toro, who I'm writing Pan's Labyrinth for the stage with Guillermo and Gustavo Santaolalla and Jeremy Unger. We're taking this amazing movie to the stage. It's a long, slow process. And Daft Punk, the same situation. They were Guillermo. I signed Guillermo's soundtrack album of Phantom of the Paradise when he was in his teens in Mexico City. came to my show, in his dad's suit, and borrowed the family car or whatever, and came to the show. Daft Punk saw the one of the few places that Phantom of the Paradise was a hit was in Paris and Winnipeg, the two cities it was a hit. And the two guys, Thomas and Gaiman, who are Daft Punk with their masks, their robot masks, and hidden identities, anonymity, which I admire so much. They met they saw Phantom together like 20 times,
Yeah.
So there's a big lesson there beyond the fact that I can name drop, a couple of groups that I'm working with, but the fact that when you write something and the world doesn't respond, or you feel like that's going nowhere. The big amigo has his own time frame, and life has its own time frame, and something that you were so proud of bounce up and bite you on the ass like, wow, that was just a joke. I was only joking. Yeah, but you don't joke about those things in 2019, and so we've seen that, and so far that has not emerged in my life. Thank you, Lord. But the other side of it is something that was panned, and you just didn't understand why. Variety, when the Muppet Christmas Carol came out, called the songs pedestrian. And it's one of the most great joys of my life is the mail I get around Christmas, around the Muppet movie or the Muppet Christmas Carol and Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas and things I did with Jim Henson that just didn't, I mean, the Muppet movie did really well. Muppet Christmas Carol was like, why? How did we miss? We didn't.
Yeah.
It just takes time for people to
catch on,
or to watch it with their families. 2 days before Christmas, it's a different thing than watching it, in a theater when this is the 18th film you've reviewed in the last 16 days or whatever. So.
Well, Paul, we're out of time, but where can the folks at home follow you on Instagram, Twitter?
Polylama2 is my Instagram account.
All right.
And Twitter is at the letter I, the letter M, Paul Williams. I am Paul Williams. Plus, there's a variety of people that every now and then decide they want to pop up as pretending to be me. So you follow them for a little while before we catch them. But yeah, I love it, and the people that do follow me and are really generous and kind, and that's really important to me. I'm very grateful.
Well, Paul, I'm grateful for you and grateful for this interview, and I'm actually grateful that you responded to my tweet. So thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you, guys.
Thank
you, Paul.
Wow. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Guys, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcast, and follow Paul Williams, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.